Welcome to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, and thank you for joining. Hope everyone is doing well out there. I hope you all are having a great week. Well, today we are talking about all things franchising. I don't know about you, but I know I have had many thoughts on franchising and just wondering, how do you actually get it started? There's so much information out there, but then not enough information. There are so many people reaching out to you on LinkedIn talking about franchising. There's just a world of things, but not really, from my perspective, a clear understanding of how you move forward if you are someone who would like to start a franchise business. Well, if you too are unsure where to start, what questions to ask, and so on and so on, my guest today is here to help you understand all things franchising. Diane Pleuss is a franchise business consultant who helps women who want to rejoin the workforce after taking some time away to care for children or provide care to a loved one by introducing them to franchising. So stay tuned. I'll be right back with Diane. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you all for joining. All right, I am back, and now I have Diane with me. So welcome to the Gyrl podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into all things franchise ownership, why don't you get started by telling the audience who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Diane Pleuss, and I'm a franchise business consultant, which means that I work with people who want a business, specifically a franchise, but they don't know which are the good ones and the not so good ones. They don't know how to go about investigating a business, and no one wants to make an expensive, embarrassing mistake. So I work with good people, learn about them, their goals, their skills, their interests, and then I suggest companies that would be available in their area that would meet what they're looking for and guide them through the investigation process. So at the end, they can make a sound business decision whether they want to move forward or take a pass.
Fantastic. So I am very intrigued by franchises. And I think that a lot of times people, like you said, people are nervous because they don't know. And people just hear oh, yeah, I started a franchise, or you should franchise. And I don't know about anyone out there listening or watching us right now, but I know over the last 2 years on LinkedIn, I've gotten so many emails and emails from people who are talking about franchise businesses and ownership. And I'm I don't know if it's real or not. So that's why I'm so glad to have you here to help us sort of decipher the world of franchises.
Sure, there is a lot of interest, and partly I think because franchising has improved, there's been a lot of private equity money that has been invested to update the tech stack, bring on additional people for support. They've really fine-tuned a lot of things. And there are many people now that are looking at what we call manager-run businesses, where if they like their job, they are looking at diversifying and investing in a business that they can hire a manager to run. So they have that fallback strategy, but another revenue source. And that didn't exist when I got into this many years ago, or certainly not the number of companies that are available now. So there's some interesting new options.
Yeah. So let's start with why are people drawn to franchising?
They're drawn because they want more freedom, more flexibility, more control. They may want to work with a spouse or a partner. They may want to have a business to hand off to their kids. They look at their job and they say, I worked so hard and I got the standard raise as everybody else. Or look what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, what do I have to show for it? They might have a good paycheck, but they have no equity. They cannot sell it.
Right.
And many times people are downsized through no fault of their own. I've worked with people who've been, won all these awards, and yet their department was eliminated and they were part of it.
Yeah, I definitely think that you said a lot of key things, but I think definitely hearing people wanting more freedom and flexibility. And I would probably say, and not to put you on the spot with like numbers or like franchise owners and that type of data, but would you probably say that you've seen the opportunities or the interest grow like over the last few years since the pandemic?
Exactly. And many times when people were able to work from home, they realized they didn't miss that commute. They didn't necessarily miss the office politics. I'm reading posts now where people are saying, man, the person in the cubicle next to me is so loud, or I put my lunch in the refrigerator and someone, took some stuff out of it, or whatever the case is. And they look at it and say, I'm capable, I'm competent, I can do a lot more than what I'm doing, and I could do it to benefit myself and my family.
Mm-hmm. So when as we opened with, like the interest in franchising, what do you think, what assumptions, when you talk to people that you work with, what assumptions do people usually come through the door with about franchising?
Well, there are several big assumptions. One of them is that it's only fast food and French fries. And there are many, many other options than just fast food. We're aware of that because they've been around for so long, 50 plus years, and they've got the flashing signs by the side of the road. But there are all other kinds of other options available, from boutique fitness studios, hair salons, massage studios, automotive aftermarket, tutoring, senior care. There's a lot of businesses that are serving the homes, such as residential cleaning, painting, handyman, lawn care, pool care, pet care. Pet care is exploding. So there are many more options. So people aren't aware that many times when you have a successful independent business and they start to grow and expand, and then at some point they start to franchise that's an option. And during the last couple of years, many of these service-based businesses were deemed essential. So they continued, and many of them had banner years. People are home, they want things done.
Yes.
And they've saved money in other places, so they've done things. So it's really benefited a lot. And many of those types of companies are also Monday through Friday traditional business hours. So they're not working 24/7 types of things. Maybe another myth might be that it takes $1 million. And certainly there are franchises that are very affordable. Some you can start from a home office or a small warehouse, sometimes even an office in your home. And as you grow the business, you may then expand to a larger office. And that's great because you've got the revenue then to offset it. Maybe one other myth, if I might,
yes,
is that people think you have to have experience. But in some industries you do, but for most they don't. They want that person who has business acumen, has that fire in the belly, that can-do attitude, the person who's coachable. They don't necessarily have to have that technical skill. So for example, a hair salon, most franchisees are business people. They are not technicians. They're never going to get their cosmetology license. They're never going to work behind the counter, but they like the business model and they don't have those skills. So sometimes if we look at other industries, let's say a painting franchise, again, the owner is not going to be the person painting. They're going to be hiring the painters and managing and growing the business. Ideally, a very large business.
Yes. Oh, well, I like all of those because I definitely do think the one that you mentioned about, fast food, about being restaurants all the time, like, and then also the money, because I do think a lot of times people think that, oh, it's going to cost me like $50,000 to get a franchise business.
And certainly franchise fees is an investment. Keep in mind that you're building equity. So you think of a home, you make a down payment and you take out a mortgage and you buy a home, and then you probably fix it up, inflation helps, and then you have this asset that at some point in time, if you want to sell, you can. Likewise with a business is that investment. You grow it, you scale it, and at some point in time, you'll either want to hand it down or sell it.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think the key thing you said is that it's an investment. And that's what you have to see it as. It's not only an investment in a business, but it's also an investment in you and your future.
Yes.
And so if you look at it that way, I like that you know, paralleled it to home. If you look at it that way, then you'll see the opportunity for growth. And even if, right, if they may want to scale it and open up more franchises.
Exactly. There are the people that we call the empire builders, and they want
Mhm.
multiple units or sometimes multiple franchises. And yet I can remember one man called me up and he wanted another franchise. And he said that he had one and he had grown it and had just sold it. And he wanted another one now, a little bigger, a little more prestige. And I asked him which one he had bought and what he had done. And he told me, and I said, so why did you do that? And he said, it was the only one I could afford. But he said, I knew I had confidence in myself and my skills and abilities, and I wanted it to come back to benefit me. So he said, I'm at that point. So now I want to have more options. I have some more money to invest. Again, similar to a home, sometimes you start with a starter home
Mhm.
and you improve it, and then you might move to another neighborhood or better school system or whatever the case is. And likewise with a business, you could add on additional locations or units, or add on another whole business, or sell one and do another.
Very true. That's some good advice. So let's talk about women in franchising, because obviously we know a lot of women have walked away from the workforce due to the pandemic, or just due to, like, maybe finding that she wanted something different, or just people in general. But I am going to focus on women because I'm a woman, so I'm just using myself as an example. Everyone, what opportunities do you see out there for women in franchising?
There are a ton of opportunities for women. Again, you don't have to have technical experience. You don't have to have a fancy degree. A franchise company is going to look at you and what you've done, and are you coachable? Do you have a natural curiosity? Do you want to learn? Do you want to give good customer service? Do you want to be involved in the community? Can you manage your own time? Can you connect with people? A lot of times women have these skills just from running a household and keeping everything organized, but they don't necessarily get credit for that in the corporate world. Or they had a good job, but they took time off to raise their kids or care for elderly parents, and they look at going back and they don't want to start at the bottom or close to the
Right.
bottom.
Mhm.
They have more to offer. So they look at it and they learn about it and they say, my gosh, I could do this. And all of a sudden the light goes on and they say, I want to sign the back of the check, or I want to sign the front of the check instead of the back of the check. It's a whole mindset change, and there's this whole world that opens up to them that they can leverage and apply themselves.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Now, we know franchising isn't for everyone and being a franchise business owner. So, who who is it good for? Like, who makes a good franchise business owner and who doesn't?
Okay. And you're absolutely right. And thank you for mentioning that. It's very important. So the person who needs a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks should not become a business owner or a franchisee. They would be too stressed. They may not have the financial wherewithal. Keep in mind that good franchise companies award a franchise, so a person has to be financially qualified. And if for some reason that person should not be successful, it would be terrible for them, but it's also a black mark on that franchise because they have to disclose that someone closed. So if you're evaluating a franchise company and you see a list of closures, you're probably going to say, no, thank you. That's a red flag, or at least a yellow flag, in my opinion. So someone that needs a guaranteed paycheck should not do it. They should stick with the job. Likewise, and I'm sure you've met people that are the true entrepreneurs. They are good at so many things and they want to do everything. I tend to think of someone like a Lady Gaga. I could not imagine her as a franchisee because she would want to do everything in her own way. You know, she would probably show up to training wearing a meat dress or something crazy like that. So I don't see her as following systems or procedures. She's too creative and she would not feel comfortable. So it would be a mismatch. But if we look at that and we say the person who needs a guaranteed paycheck, let's say, is a 1 on the scale, and that super creative Renaissance person who can do everything is the 10, people on the scale, let's say from a 3 to 7, would be good. And many times too, I have to mention that when I first got into franchising, I personally thought that you had to be this rock star. You had to be Superman or Superwoman to be a franchise business owner. And what I learned is the people who are owners really are no different than you or me. They just took action, they had confidence in themselves, and they learned and they moved forward step by step. So many times they are no different. And too many times I think women, we shortchange ourselves. We don't dream big enough. We don't give ourselves enough credit. And if there's anything I would suggest would be to explore and evaluate your skills and what you bring to the table and what you could do and what your goals are, and look at that opportunity.
Yeah. And I think too, like you said, you've got to have that discipline too. You do, because it's going to be your business. If you choose to sit on the couch and eat bonbons and watch daytime TV, that is your option. You will not be successful that way, but it would be your option. Right. Yeah. It would be a lot of money wasted. Yeah. So be disciplined, and then also like being patient. Because like you said, if you need a paycheck every 2 weeks, like it's not the thing for you, because you're going to have to invest in time into the business. And it takes, like, one of the things you mentioned earlier is like also networking. Like you have to take all those ingredients and put them together in order to like start and run a successful business. Right. You hear the term ramp up, and a business ramps up. You don't start with day one and be in the black. It takes a while to gain customers, get repeat customers, gain efficiencies, and run a sound business. Yes. What do you think, what effects have COVID had on franchising? It's somewhat of a two-sided coin, if you will. So certainly the restaurant industry has been affected a lot, and businesses that do anything with personal care where they're touching has been affected, because in many states they've been closed for quite a while, or for the restaurants, they may have modified their menu, or if they didn't have a drive-through, they were dramatically affected. Those businesses were in the news a lot, and it was very tough for them. On the flip side, some of the service-based businesses did extraordinarily well, and they don't tout their horn. They don't want to
somewhat take advantage of a poor situation.
Yeah.
But if your water heater breaks, you're probably going to get it fixed, and you're probably going to call someone to help you with it. Or if you're working from home all day and you need some things done, you're probably going to get them done. Or
Right.
if your children are home and they need some additional tutoring to stay up to grade level, you're probably going to make that investment to do that. Or you look at the number of people that bought pets, and anything pet related, again, has just skyrocketed. So there are industries and businesses that have done well, but they are not shouting from the rooftops and saying, oh, look at us. They're just quietly welcoming more people in and keeping everything going and running successfully.
Yeah. And, and now I guess you would say, where we are today in the pandemic, would you say you're starting to see a shift even with some of those businesses, like the ones that are offering like self-care services, or restaurants, like sort of seeing them like turn back to more of a positive side now?
Yes, very much so. And partly, and I'm sure you'll agree, is there's been a lot of pent-up demand. Look how many people are going on vacation.
Yeah.
And even though prices are up, they say we've missed seeing our grandparents, or we miss giving our kids this opportunity. So we're going to do it. So there is a lot of pent-up demand, and people want to make up for lost time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, why don't you tell everyone out there how they can work with you?
Sure. My website is dianepleuss.com. Probably easiest to contact me via quickchatwithdiane.com to schedule an appointment. I'm on LinkedIn under Diane Pleuss, the franchise fitter. My last name is not only difficult to pronounce, it's also difficult to spell. I will quickly go through it. It's spelled P as in Peter, L-E-U-S-S, Pleuss as in choice voice or Rolls Royce. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. My direct phone number is 925-642-9976.
Awesome. I just loved it. And we'll also drop the links into the show notes as well, so you can grab them there. Well, Diane, this has been very informative. Such great information on the world of franchising.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So many people aren't aware of it. So I think part of my role is simply educating people and giving them an additional option.
Yes, definitely. I love that there's an option. And also the fact that this is something that an investment you can make in yourself, that you don't have to have the skill. You don't have to be technically trained in something in order to be good at, managing the business.
It opens up so many more opportunities. You don't have to have this particular license, or if you do programming that you are at a certain level or know a certain language. So it opens up many more doors. And if you have some management skills, if you have some soft skills, you have a wide variety of options to choose from.
Yes, those soft skills, there's something else, I tell you.
Yes, thank goodness.
Right. All right. So now we're going to move into 3 things with Diane. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. One is a combo. How do you start and end your day?
Okay. I start my day, and I heard this on a podcast. I'm a huge podcast listener, and I thought it was cool, so I embraced it. They said every morning, stand up and give a thumbs up and say, it's going to be a great day. Awesome. So I start my day with that. I read a meditation, and ideally I go for a run in the morning to get the endorphins going and clear my head. I love that combination and have been doing it for many years.
Awesome. And how do you end the day?
I end the day somewhat exhausted. So my days are usually full. I don't necessarily have a wind down routine. It's usually succumbing because it's late and I have to go to bed.
Awesome. All right. Now, second question. If you are a goal setter or an intention setter, what's the one thing you've set for yourself this year?
Well, one crazy goal, and I either read this or heard it on a podcast again, and I liked it. I'm in a new age group this year, and the person recommended learning a new sport for every decade. And I
Oh.
like that. So
Mhm.
I thought, I've been wanting to learn pickleball for a while. So this is my year. I am learning pickleball, and I have been taking lessons. In fact, I had a lesson last night, and I have a long ways to go and find it very humbling and embarrassing. The progress is slow, but I continue on.
But you're doing it. That's always
Yes.
great. You should always be learning something. And last, what do you do on a day off?
On a day off, I like to relax by going hiking, reading, potentially working in the yard. Nothing special, possibly getting together with friends, planning future activities, just catching up, catching my breath, doing some of the household chores that need to be done. But just trying to keep on top of things.
Awesome. I like that. And before I let you go, would you please give our audience maybe the top 2 to 3 things that you'd like for them to take away from this conversation today?
I recommend that people give themselves some more credit for where they are and what they've done. I think too many times we tend to compare ourselves to someone up here when in all truth, we've done a lot and we've accomplished a lot. And give yourself credit for that. Look at opportunities, work hard. There's an expression that has a little bit of a twist to it. And that is when opportunity knocks, the person who answers it is wearing overalls, meaning they're the person who works hard. So do put the time and effort, be the best that you can be, but also don't shortchange yourself. Look at other things and what you're capable of. Set some new goals, some new ambitions. Be curious to what is out there. I love nothing better than working with someone and presenting some additional options for them that they didn't know existed. And they can look at that and see, would that work or not? I should also mention, if I might, that I work with people nationally. I've worked with and placed people from New York to Florida, Alaska, Hawaii. Right now I'm working with some people from Uruguay who are simply waiting for their visa to be processed, which is a little unusual. And my services are free. We are paid by the franchise companies for the pre-screening, the qualification, the education we do. So I've had a number of people who've explored it. Some said, yes, we're ready. Some have said, no, we've got to save up more. Some have said, you know what? I'm happy in my job, but they go back feeling better because that's their choice then.
Awesome. I love that. Great, great, great advice and all the education that you've given us today on franchising. It's been so helpful. So anyone listening out there, you can contact Diane. It doesn't cost you anything to get the information and to try.
Thank you very much. I like to be a resource. So again, sometimes I'll chat with people and maybe I'll connect them with a career coach or someone that can help with a resume or whatever the case is. But if I can be a resource, I feel that I'm paying it forward. And so many people helped me in my career that at this stage of my life, it also gives me great fulfillment.
So, well, no better way to end than that with what you just said. Thank you again, Diane, so much for joining me today. But best of luck to you in the future. And I hope you get better at pickleball.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. And all the best to you as well.
Thank you. Stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Globe Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thanks again to Diane for joining the show today and for sharing all that great info on how to start a franchise business. Remember, it is free to get started with her. So if you have any thoughts of wanting to start a business or starting a franchise that we talked about today, be sure to check out her website at dianepleuss.com. You can also grab the link in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Gyrl, visit our website at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest on the show, grab our social links, and so much more. As always, thank you all for joining me today, and I'll see you all next week. Until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.